I want you to meet some of the vets. Okay, I want you to hear their stories. And I'm joined now by Rick Haddad, pronounced that correctly,
yep.
A great vet, served in Afghanistan and Iraq, and Matt Bailey, a Fisher House volunteer. Matt, Rick, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having us.
Rick, tell me your story. Before I get into Fisher House, you said you had several deployments. You were in Iraq, you were in Afghanistan, and you were wounded. What happened?
Yeah, so back in 2008 during the surge in Iraq, we were operating out of a small patrol base south of Kirkuk, and my company was hit by a suicide bomber, vehicle-borne suicide bomber in a complex ambush, which resulted in 22 of my guys getting seriously wounded, to include myself, and some casualties. It was very typical back then with suicide bombers. So I was seriously wounded. I was supposed to be a double amputee, and I was one of the lucky ones that had some good life-saving on the battlefield. But my Fisher House story starts with my first 3 to 4 months of recovery. Required significant therapy to try to save the limbs. And my family, my mother, my kids stayed at the Fisher House, and I was fortunate enough to have them at those sessions every day with me. Which looking back now, that was the difference. Because when you got to go suck it up every day to get better, you want your family there. And it's the Fisher House that provided that opportunity for my family to be there and to help me through that difficult time.
Rick, I'm looking at you now.
Yeah.
You're like a new man.
Yeah. I tell you, you'd be surprised if you have the right folks around you and the right care. If all the conditions are set, you pretty much can overcome anything. And I remember, looking back now, I used to go to this therapy that was, that you were guaranteed to cry during it. And
was that painful?
Yeah, it was. But you couldn't hurt yourself anymore, so why not do it? But I remember my mother sitting there with me, one millimeter at a time, moving my arm or moving my leg, and you take for granted that, it's folks like Fisher House and Jen and Michelle and volunteers like Matt that make that happen. Because after you initially get wounded, the Army takes care of you for a short time, and then the journey begins. People got to go back to work, life goes on, and not everybody can afford to go be with their loved one who's wounded. And we forget that the families have their PTSD is as bad as ours. They're the ones suffering that traumatic injury too, and sometimes it's worse. And I like to think the Fisher House contributes to the mental health of the families just as much as it does to the soldier.
Well, I can just imagine. Look at it's your mom, you're her boy. You're still going to be always her little boy, and she sees you just trying to walk again. You're crawling almost millimeter by millimeter.
Right.
You're in agony. You're in pain. And what, she was encouraging you every step of the way? She was there with you every step of the way?
There with me every surgery, coming out of surgery, having family there. It's so critical. It's so important. That's what you need, because you need to be motivated. Nothing motivates you like the people you love, whether it's your family or friends. So I was very fortunate. I always say that first 4 months when my family was close by is the difference between me walking right now. And I went through all those phases.
Now, Rick, what happened to you? You eventually you obviously bounced back.
Yeah,
no
I bounced back. I started off with you're not going to walk. You're going to lose your left arm and left leg, and then okay, we're going to keep them, but you're going to walk in a cane. You're not going to be able to pick your nose anymore, and it became one of those things. And eventually, it just got better and better, and adaptive. But like I said, good outliers, good family. And, of course, inspired by other veterans. Everybody's got their story of being wounded, but you look around here, there's always somebody who has it worse than you. So, the love of your brothers and your friends, and that's what motivates you. As you've met some of these kids around here.
They're incredible.
And I was older when I got wounded. I was a first sergeant. I'd been through multiple deployments and seen a lot of guys get wounded. It's the young ones that, who really need the support. Well, everybody needs the support, but, we forget that, I had a little bit more life experience and maybe was able to address my challenge a little bit better. So it's even more important that the younger ones, they have the right support system. And without things like the Fisher House, who knows? And these injuries aren't going to go away. We forget conflict, although it may not be public, it's still out there. And, we get a lot of soldiers who are still wounded between the ears out there that we need to take care of.